Hey artists, today I want to talk to you a little bit about gathering our ideas for when we have center time. We are going to use the drawing center, the painting center, the collage center, and possibly the weaving center for our next project. But I want to talk to you guys about getting your idea first before you just dive right into the paint center or the drawing center. Because a lot of you are just rushing over, you're getting paint and you're starting to paint before you really have an idea of what you're going to paint. You haven't planned things out. The first step is always to take scrap paper, or you can use your sketchbook, and draw your idea. I want to know what you're thinking that you want to create. And the first thing is to think about also what center you want to use. So that's a good place to start. Think, all right, I want to use the paint center. I know I want to paint. So then figure out what you want to paint, get some ideas, draw them out so you have an idea of what you're going to paint. Think about the background too. What is the background going to look like? And then what's your object going to be? Draw some ideas. I always like you to have at least 3 ideas. Once you have your ideas drawn, then again, you don't just rush over and get paint, because now you have to decide, well, what size paper do you want to use? What paint am I going to use? Am I going to use watercolor? Am I going to use tempera? Am I going to use the paint chip plate? So those things you need to figure out too. Once you draw your picture, you're going to start drawing it with pencil. You're forgetting these simple steps. You don't go paint a blank piece of paper. You don't know what you're going to paint. So then you have to redraw your idea on the size paper you want, the good drawing paper. I have some cut over at the table by Darth Vader that are various sizes. So the first step after you have your idea development, pick the one you like, redraw it on good drawing paper. Then, before you paint, now again, think about things you've learned. How are you going to make your object really stand out? Well, you can do a few things. You could outline it with a black Sharpie first before painting. You could outline it with a black crayon. Or maybe you paint your background with watercolor paint and you draw your main object, or what you want your focal point to be, with maybe bright fluorescent pastels or colored pencils, something to create contrast. So we need to be thinking about those things. Well, suppose you want to use the collage center. Again, think about, if you want to do a weaving, think about how you're going to use the weaving. Is it going to be the background? Maybe you weave a background and then you do a drawing, you cut it out and you collage it on top, glue it on top. So that would be a way that you could combine the 2 centers, weaving with drawing and actually paint. I think this turtle has paint on top of it. You could just do a smaller weaving and then collage on top of it, and then maybe do a painting of a landscape and then glue this on top. So there's lots of ways you could use both centers or 2 centers. If you're going to weave, make sure to follow the directions. The main thing is when you cut these strips, make them, look at this one is even thicker than my thumb. Make them about 1.5 inches thick, about as thick as a ruler. That's going to be easier to weave. All right? Well, I hope these little things have helped you. Really think your idea through before you just rush to a center and start creating stuff. Because when you do that, you usually make mistakes or you end up throwing stuff away because you haven't thought through your idea very well. All right, happy creating, artists.